TraderCobb Crypto Podcast.
G'day guys, welcome to the TraderCobb Crypto Show. Today I've got another amazing guest in Caile from BlockGrain. Mate, the CEO here, and tell us a bit about yourself and your project.
Thanks, Craig. So BlockGrain's been running for about 3 years. We're a business, we're out there. We basically, from a consumer point of view, we allow people to get full traceability over what they're eating, what they're drinking, any commodity that touches the food they consume. We can get traceability over that, and yeah, we start at the farmer level, so we're a farmer, agricultural focused business.
Okay, so is it focused purely on getting grains from farmer to the plants and whatnot, or how's the link?
So but basically what we did, we started out, farmers, you know, they are IT savvy. I mean, they're not living in a stone age, but they do have issues around the lack of technology that actually allows them to deliver their commodities, to store their commodities, to contract their commodities, to work with their traders and their brokers. And so what we did, we built a platform about 2 years ago that allows them to link up and basically share information with their logistics providers and share information with each other. And what that then ended up basically doing is, once you provide a service to people at the foundation level, you end up creating, well, not deliberately, but you end up creating full supply chain traceability. And so by providing software to farmers who need it, all of a sudden, once they use that software, then you have, you know, the means to go forward and say, well, now we have full traceability, and you can take that supply chain through to the consumer and give them an overview of what's going on and what's being sprayed on, what chemicals, and how it's being handled. So we do that in fruit, wool, and commodities. Yeah.
So what's your background at the moment? You obviously come into this, so you've been here for 3 years, so is it a farming background?
Yeah,
it is a farming background.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started out, I was a fifth generation from the Mallee in Victoria. The farm wasn't big enough. It was never, you know, my grandfather had it, and it got passed down, and sort of, like, I loved it, but it was never going to happen. So I went to university. I think I dropped out of my first course, was ag science, and I thought, oh, this is not for me. And I went away and I went into pubs and did that sort of stuff, and I went back to uni and did a business degree. And then I ended up working for the largest commodity brokers or commodity buyers in Australia, which is GrainCorp. Yep. And then from there, I thought, geez, look, they do provide value. I'm not, you know, and our business certainly doesn't cut them out, but basically their methodology and thinking was antiquated. So I moved out and started this business.
So what was the actual vision to start off with? I mean, obviously every business starts with an idea, then it tends to have a growth spurt, and then there's always working towards that end goal. What's the end goal? What are you trying to achieve here?
The end goal for us is to bring as much value as we can back to farmers, whether it's fruit, vegetables, wool, livestock, or grain. We're here to say, well, as a farmer, not necessarily all the time do you need all the intermediaries between you and the end consumer. So we want to try and reduce that where possible. And it's not. We also work. What you got to understand is, people talk about, the buzzword today is all about disintermediation. You got to cut these people out and cut.
Yeah, it is.
And that's not how the world works.
Yeah.
Not all the time. The commodity industries have developed in a way over thousands of years, and they do work in a certain way because it's the most efficient way to do business. Yeah. So we're not out there saying we've got to remove all these steps. We provide an opportunity that allows for another option to go direct, but we also accommodate for the traditional business. And if you can do that, then you have 100% of the market. And so the idea for us is to give farmers the opportunity and the choice to make their decisions. Do I want to do the traditional route, or do I want to sell direct? And that's what we do.
And so the technology, obviously, of being on the blockchain, it's relatively straightforward. We all sort of understand that in this sense that it's, you know, you can't hack it. It is what it is. It's there, and you know you're going to. Once it's in there, it's there forever.
Yes.
It can't get taken away. Now, how does that help the end consumer, and how does it help the farmer? Does it cut out a lot of middlemen? Does it make it faster, more efficient, cheaper? Like, why is this so good for farmers? As you just said, there's already a system that works. So what makes this better?
Yeah, great question. It does make, obviously, look, blockchain is an enhancement to our business. We're a business in our own right. Basically, what I find in this business is, in the crypto world, there are so many people who are just trying to put blockchain to something and make money.
Absolutely.
And it is absolutely rife. For us, it is a perfect alignment. I mean, we work in supply chains, we work in contracts, we work in big money. And about 12 months ago, or 18 months ago, we heard about this thing called blockchain. and we started to understand it. We started to, as you probably did, you go the deep dive and you go into it, and you realise, geez, this solves a lot of the questions that I've been trying to sort out here. Like this answers things. And so we went in there and basically we realised that if we can adapt this into our system, all of a sudden farmers can finance what they're doing. They don't have to worry about going to a bank for an overdraft at 14% interest. They don't have to go to their financier. They don't have to sell to the local guy. All of a sudden they can talk to someone in China. We can build an international relationship backed by cryptographic contracts to ensure that payment occurs. And not only that, we can actually finance against that contract, because if the buyer's been vetted and the seller is of credibility, which is what our system does, it builds up credibility, all of a sudden you have two willing parties who don't know each other, who can do a contract together, and we can actually finance against that contract. And that's what crypto is all about. It's about bringing people, who don't necessarily trust each other on any other given day together to form a relationship where they have an immutable contract. And basically, and over that, the problem with the commodity industry is it's called commodities, hence the word commoditized, because everyone puts their grain together and they sell it like a commodity. But if you actually keep your grain separate and you try and build a relationship with the end consumer, all of a sudden you find that your mills and your breweries are saying, well, I want to buy Craig's grain because I understand what he does. I understand what's on it. I know the chemicals. I understand everything that I need to know that my consumers want to know about that product. I know because I buy direct. I'm not buying from a big pool of grain that's been mingled or co-mingled or fruit, for instance. I know that I'm dealing direct with the person who makes it.
Yeah.
And that's value, because when those mills go on, like we're doing a pilot now with a rather large brewery who want to show their consumer. So a consumer walks into Dan Murphy's in Australia, which is our local boozer, and you go in there and they can scan the bottle, and all of a sudden they see this is who grew it, this is what chemicals went on it, it then went to this logistics company, it went through this procedure, and it's ended up in your hand. And that's the story that the breweries and everyone else wants to tell. So what our product does is allow that to occur. If you use the traditional routes, well, you're just putting your grain together like a bank, putting a heap of money in a bank and hoping to get you're never going to get your same money back.
So has this helped to sort of bring up a boutique market within grains and commodities then? Because it sounds like, we know the world that we're living in now, everyone wants to have, do yoga, drink the right coffee, be trade free, but all this stuff sort of evolving at the moment. Yeah. From your point of view, if we can link a consumer-based product, which, the grain that comes across and you go, this is all organic and it's provable, because there's a lot of rubbish out there. They say it's organic, but it's the same stuff. There's all sorts of marketing ploys. Does this allow potentially for these individual boutique farmers to potentially ask for more money for their product, because it is more, it is special, it's different?
Yep, you're right. Like you're 100% right on so many fronts. I don't think the farmer can ask for more. I think what happens is the consumer ends up paying more, and when the consumer pays more, economics kick in, which means the middleman, who might be the big manufacturer in the middle, is willing to pay more for that commodity. Yeah. So everything it's supply and demand. Commodities, it's the greatest law that we have is supply and demand. And so you're absolutely right, but it starts at the consumer. Yeah. Once the consumer gets value out of paying an extra $1 or extra 50 cents for his beer or his loaf of bread or whatever, he then looks through the supply chain and says, well, I'm happy to pay that. The manufacturer says, okay, I've got a bit more here. I'll pay more to be able to provide that service to my customers. And once the manufacturer in the middle says that, he pays the farmer more. And if the farmer gets more, then we've achieved what we're trying to do.
And is it sort of, can you create futures from it too? As in, you can sell future stock down the track on the blockchain that's linked in there?
You can. Our ambition is to, if you look at our token sale, 30% of it's locked up in a commodity fund. Never to be traded, never to go on the market. And what that does is, if you take 30% out of your whole pie, and but the other 70% grows in value, all of a sudden, may or may not grow in value, the 30% that sits there grows in value, and you use that to leverage, to place futures contracts, to ensure that when a buyer from one side of the world and a seller from the other side, when they come together, if you can do that in a way that allows, without the paperwork, without all the crap that goes on today, by leveraging that 30% basically a security, a backup security as leveraging, as finance, all of a sudden you don't have an issue with a farmer and a buyer. You don't have to worry about US exchange. You don't have to worry about what's the futures price of grain and the fluctuations. So absolutely.
Okay, cool. And you're in, where are you at with the raise now?
Yeah, so we went out. We didn't have any big institutional guys. We skipped over all of that. We were lucky enough through Nuggets and people like yourself.
Yep.
We went out and raised about 3 million, 4 million Australian, I think, across 1,000, people who understood what we were doing. So we did that, and now I think we're on week 2 of our public sale. It's ticking along. We haven't gone out to the big guys. It's sitting out there. I think we've got maybe 600-700 ETH.
Yep.
Rolling in the door at the minute. We're open for another 30 days.
Yep.
It's going pretty well.
Okay. And when you list, I mean, is everything already working? You sort of touch on the fact that this is already an existing business. You've been running this business for a while before going on the blockchain.
Yeah.
Is it already running? Have you already got clients? Have you got the beginning and end link for everything, from the grain from the farmer to going through to, say, an example like you said with the brewery? Or is he still working on the use case?
No. Let's to clarify. So we are an existing business. We've been running for about 3 years now. The problem is people go out and they try and say, I have a solution, and they build the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it never gets uptake.
Yeah.
So our CTO used to work for a rather large Australian company. I think in his 3 years, I think he had one app that was successful. Out of I don't know how many.
It's a pretty big hit, right?
600 apps that came through the door. And that the app that was successful, they created apps that could scan for cancer. They created apps that could do all sorts of wonderful, really cool stuff.
Wow.
The one that was successful was a flatulence app. It was for spelling your name and make it sound really funny. That's the app that was successful. And I suppose the problem is people go out and they create their whole solution and say this is what needs to happen, and it doesn't work that way. We've been out there for 3 years. We've been trialling. We've been working with farmers. We've got 1,000 farmers linked to 10 brokers who are contracted to our system. And those 10 brokers, the CEO of that company, Independent Brokers, is our business development manager. He's come on and said, I understand what you guys are doing. I want to be involved. So our customer is already involved in our business. He's our biggest. He's out there talking to the Cargills of the world and the Louis Dreyfuses and everyone else, saying this is a great business. And so he represents those 10 independent brokers who represent 1,000 farmers. I don't know how many millions of dollars worth of commodities they move. And so we've been working with them to adjust our system. And over time, we've been building, shaping, moulding and learning what they need. And if you can do that, then you have a foundation of a business.
Yep.
So we don't have the whole supply chain. Absolutely not. Are we doing trials in blockchain right now? Yeah, we are. We haven't decided which blockchain we're going to go with.
Yep.
At the moment, I think it's Cordoba. That's what our current system is built in for our trial pilots that we use.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean we're going to use that in our real system. And I suppose to a long answer to your question is, we have the start, the foundation of a business. If you don't have a foundation, you've either got two options. You can go to the customer and try and start at that end and work back, which never works. Right.
May work, but it's a long way.
It's a long way because the farmer doesn't get it.
Yeah.
They don't understand the connection between, why should I jump on this system? And the other best way to do is solve a problem that a farmer needs. And if you can do that, which is what we've done, all of a sudden the farmer's on there, and without even knowing it, that farmer's involved in traceability. That farmer's involved in blockchain. He doesn't know it. He doesn't understand it. All he knows is at the end of the day, if he gets more money by being on a system that helps him solve a critical problem, he's happy.
Yeah.
And so that's where we're at. And once the farmer's on, all of a sudden, people don't understand it. We haven't pushed this, and I hate to say it, but in bulk logistics, we're an Uber of bulk logistics. We've got a full logistics system that manages grain from paddock to plate. People go out there. There's a company the other day raised $60 million to do a freight operation that allows them to move fridges and all sorts of consumables. No one's touched bulk freight, which is the best part about bulk freight is you pick up from a farm and you deliver it. There's no 6 drop-offs here, 5 drops. It's just up and it's down.
Yep.
So we provide a full system that does everything, and so we have that mixes in with the farmer's data, that mixes in with his broker and his trader's data. So all of a sudden, if anyone comes and tries to attack us and says, you know what, I've got a logistics app, I'm going to do this, that's great. But if it doesn't talk to the farmer and it doesn't update his stocks, his position, his trading position, as you would know, then your app's irrelevant, mate, because you're not passing, you're breaking the chain. And that's the problem with the logistics and the commodity industry is everyone tries to come out and build these apps and they say, the Cargill comes out and builds one. Monsanto, we had a meeting with them the other day.
Oh, yeah, how'd they go?
Well, no doubt their idea will be, well, we can just build this.
Yeah, of course.
The problem is farmers don't trust any of those guys, and they shouldn't.
Neither do the people.
Neither do people. And
more and more, anyway.
problem is, Grain Corp, the great guys, and they do deliver value, and AWB, they all come out and they build these apps and say, oh, we're going to do that ourselves. And the farmer says, I'm not giving my data to you.
Yeah.
I don't want to be involved in your system. I want an independent, trustworthy platform that I can do business with.
So a farmer building the system, talking to other farmers, is essentially what BlockGrain is doing. The obvious question would be, you're talking about grains now. I mean, can't you just do everything?
In terms of?
In terms of wool, in terms of beef, in terms of the whole, I mean, if you're in with farmers, they do more than just grain. I mean, farming is a huge industry.
Yep.
Can you not just take care of the whole shebang and dominate the entire industry?
Look,
eventually,
that's
blue sky
the goal.
thinking, but if we can get there, right?
Like a young footballer who starts out, the objective is to play AFL or the objective is to play NBA. We do have those goals in mind, but we start out at the foundation level, and we've picked the hardest one. Grain is the hardest.
It is,
because
is it?
Because it's how do you, if it's a box of fruit, it's a box of fruit. You understand,
yeah.
Here's where it goes, it tracks, it goes in its own path. Grain gets mixed and blended all the way along the supply chain. We started with the hardest, but essentially every commodity industry, be it coffee, be it grain, be it fruit, wool. So we're talking with the largest wool handlers in the world at the minute to try and do a pilot.
Yep.
And they're great guys, but they don't understand blockchain, and they'll come in. And again, they realise that they need an independent system because they don't get paid for all the marketing they do.
Okay.
They just get paid to handle the wool. But my point is, every single commodity in every country is the same. They all have a seller, a buyer. The seller has a broker. The buyer has a broker. The broker has financing for his bloke on it's just the same. It doesn't matter whether it's wool, grain, fruit, vegetables, anywhere in the world.
So this can be applied to anything, in theory?
In theory, yeah. Okay. In theory. And that's the blue sky. But ultimately, we're starting small. We're starting to look, if you can't solve a core critical need for the people you're trying to target, then you don't have a business. And that's what most people, like yesterday, all great people there in the consensus.
Yep.
But, it's all blue sky. They come in and you look at their white papers and it's full of, it's full of crypto, there's crypto. Well, how are you going to get your crypto into that business? You look at our white paper, it's that the former head of the largest agricultural company in Australia, AWB, he did a deal with Landmark, who ended up the largest trucking company in Australia is Toll Holdings, the CEO of Toll is one of our white paper. We have business people. We're business people who understand the value of crypto and what it can bring to us, not crypto people who look at it and say, let's make an industry out of it. And it's the only way to do business. Well,
we talk about it a lot in the show now, is a lot of people talk about the token. Well, if there's no business behind it that's actually going to work, then the token's not going to be worth it. I ask every single person the same question, Caile. The internet the internet and blockchain are sort of compared to each other a lot.
Yes.
Because of the rapid uptake of technology and the ability to change the world very, very fast.
Yes.
We've seen it in the internet. We still use the internet, obviously, and blockchain as a sort of a third arm of the internet, right?
Yeah.
Now, where do you think we are in 1993, if we talk about .com, or 2000? Whereabouts in the middle between 1993, which was the first sort of uptake of the internet being actually used, and not so much used, but aware of, and 2000, where we saw it go kaboom, and we saw the .com bubble. Where do you think we sit between 93 and the year 2000?
Look, I hate to speculate, but
But you're going to.
I am. You're good at this. I honestly believe that there is a kaboom coming.
Yep.
Because you can't. We initially weren't going to do a token sale. We didn't know what the Australian government was doing. We didn't know what they were thinking, which was a big factor for us. So we're above the line. We have everything's KYC. We have all the it's a hard process. The reason we did is that we thought if we don't do this now, there's going to be a kaboom and there's going to be a lot of bloodshed across the industry. And the reason is, we were sitting there in October and listening and seeing these white papers. Now, our objective really, our business is pretty small. I mean, we have a great team of developers, about 15 or 16 of them now, and they're really good people and they understand what we're trying to do. And we only have a small objective, and it's hard. It's hard to get it right. We're out there, last night was a big night, you probably might know that by now, but prior to that, we're up every night on, talking to our developers, trying to get this business right, and that's a small part. And we read these white papers, and everyone's out there, and not only are they trying to put man on the moon, they're trying to bring man on the moon with hydroponics, with a fully civilized, like their ambition is great, and I don't hold that against them, but man, try and deliver on it. When you go out and write these white papers about I'm going to do A, B, C, D, all the way through to Z, and you're going to deliver on it, and the consumer's going to love it, and it's going to be cheaper, and
it's not
just
working.
Keeps going and I think, how are you going to deliver on this? And when the time comes that you're not delivering on this, which for us we thought maybe 12, 18 months, and we're now through about 6 of those months, so probably another 12 months time, when people aren't delivering on these projects, and the cows come home, or the chickens come home to roost, I should say, the cows come home, there's going to be a boom. And there's going to be a blow up because all of this money's been invested. What I found, Craig, and I really found this last night, and Nugget's been talking about it for a long time, and it didn't click until last night. The people in this industry are just good, genuine, honest people, and a lot of them have a story that they started from the 2008 crash, or like I met Danny from the crypto show last night, and like this guy's building homes in Mexico with the money that he makes.
Wow.
Like, you know, and I met Joe from I'll get this right, he's going to kill me. Joe from Alabama.
Yeah.
You know, these guys are just people who had enough.
Yeah.
And they just came into this industry because they wanted an alternative.
Yeah.
And so all the people out there, like when I did my KYCs and I'm looking through the images of all the people that are applying, mate, they're just good people. They're tradies, electricians, plumbers, you know. But the problem is when all those people, eventually some of those, they're going to get burnt in the future.
Of course they are,
and
yes.
When
it's a new emerging market, it's always going to happen.
When that happens, some of those people will complain and say, oh, I got ripped off, I got this, I didn't know what I was doing, and the government's going to have to come in.
There'll be an avalanche, for
Exactly
sure.
right. So again, as I always do, a long answer to your question is...
Give me a year.
I think...
93, 2000, give me a year.
What are we in now? I would say by either the end of this year or potentially midway through next year, there's going to be a blow up because all the projects...
So that would be 2000, would be the blow up. So you reckon we're at 98, 96? Compared to the internet?
99, 98, I think.
99, 98. You're the highest one. That's interesting.
Well, only because... a lack of experience in my judgment around this, but
at least you're honest.
I think you know. Apparently, the crypto's grown from 3,000 last year to 7,000 or 8,000.
The prices have gone nuts.
And sorry, not the price. The number of people that crypto, at consensus is just blowing up.
Absolutely.
And look, you know, it is an amateur industry, but you know, you think of the web, think of .com. Like, none of us knew what the .com bubble was until we actually. That's how I learned about the internet, was through the .com. Everyone talks about the .com bubble. I wasn't there. I just heard about it afterwards. I didn't get the internet until probably 2000, probably 2002.
Yeah, after that
like
big boom and bust.
So look, I think we're getting closer to that than most people.
Yeah.
I think that eventually all these projects came out. I mean, look. You take me 12 months ago, I didn't know what a total sale was. Yeah,
it's evolving at a very, very, very fast rate. I love what you're doing with BlockGrain, mate. I support it and hope you do really, really well, guys. What I want you to do lastly is just let everybody know at home, that are listening as well, where they can find more information about you and the project.
Thanks. So go to blockgrain.io. You know, join us on Facebook. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We don't do Slack. We keep it simple. We're on Telegram as well. Blockgrain.io. You can give me a call. Give us a call on the phone. I'm always there. That's where you can find more information about what we're doing. Great. Well, Caile, the CEO of BlockGrain, great to have you on the show, mate. Appreciate your time. Craig actually he paid for my taxi this morning. another crypto thing. My NAB cancelled my credit card this morning because I'm overseas. Thank you very much, NAB. And so I'm there trying to ring NAB, and I couldn't even ring NAB, and I'm sitting in a taxi outside, and I think, I just want to go to crypto. I cut all the garbage out. So Craig come down, and so Craig has sponsored me to come on the show today.
Not the other way around.
Exactly right.
Good on you, mate. Thanks for being here.
Craig.
Have a good one.
Cheers.
TraderCobb Crypto Podcast.